Welcome to the Football Forecast, your ultimate guide to the NFL week ahead. Get ready as we dive deep into the biggest matchups, analyze key player performances, and break down the strategies that could make or break your favorite team's chances. Whether you're looking to dominate your fantasy league, make smart picks and bets, or simply stay ahead of the game, we've got you covered with insights and predictions. So buckle up, football fans. It's time to get your game face on for another action-packed week in the NFL. While only one team can hoist the trophy at the end, it all starts with the forecast. All right, back for Football Forecast, Week 5. We have a huge cast here. We'll introduce them in a second. Make sure you follow Football Forecast on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network across social media. If you want to find it, it's at TFB Forecast, ETB, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And then if you want to follow us on the network YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network as well. Getting very close to 900 subscribers. Want to get to that first goal of 1,000 subscribers. So please hit that subscribe button. It helps the algorithm. It helps the views. It helps all the shows that are involved in this. So please do that as well. And if you can't watch on the video side, listen to the Football Forecast wherever you get your podcasts. So that's any any podcast platform audio-wise. We're all on there as well. And also, the Football Forecast is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. The NBA preseason is back, and we are going to be doing that as well. So make sure you tune into that. Full NBA preseason. Yes, as I see Ben with his Celtics hat.
Starting today.
Yes. And a lot of Knicks fans could be happy too with the Karl Anthony Towns trade. Hopefully. I don't know if I am. I'm a Net fan, but that's a whole different story.
I didn't know the Nets had fans.
Hey, I've been a fan since the New Jersey Net days.
Yeah, I'm sure all the Timberwolves fans are thrilled too.
All right. We can talk about that another day. All right. A lot to get to this week. Before we get to that, I just want to talk about do a little Thursday throwback to Falcons beating the Buccaneers. This was an incredible game, by the way. Kirk Cousins, go ahead. Everyone's going to rub it in my face. Kirk Cousins had a great primetime game. He threw for 509 yards. I get it. Blah, blah, blah. Everyone went after me on social media. I get it. Not you guys. A lot of other people did. But I don't know. Quick thoughts on this game. Ben, what did you think of this game?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. We really didn't have a lot going on in sports yesterday, but we obviously had an incredible playoff comeback. But then we obviously had this. So you obviously had those two matchups, and it was absolutely incredible. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons were just sitting on all cylinders. Drake London obviously was a massive part to their passing game. The Falcons really have done a really good job offensively, I'd say, for the most part. It's all just came down to their execution at times, and the two wins that they've had theoretically have come down to execution. They've been able to take essentially the Bucs really had a chance to get the first down at the end. They didn't get it, and the Falcons were able to get that Younghoe game-winning field goal. They forced it to overtime. London actually got hurt in overtime, and they brought another kid in who ended up having the game-winning touchdown. It just seemed like Kirk Cousins was pretty much just getting it to everybody, Bijan Robinson as well as London. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Falcons. I know that Nick Morgan's here talking about how the Falcons theoretically could be winless pretty much with all the games that they have had. But you got to give some credit to them, their resilience, and being able to find a way to not only win, but to beat a team like this. I think the Buccaneers specifically, they can really move the football. And I think those two teams are going to have another really good battle in a couple of weeks in Tampa. And I really think another thing, too, about the NFC South is you're seeing a lot of close games. And I think that that's going to be a lot of fun because you see a lot of these quarterbacks, they're pretty similar overall. Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Kirk Cousins, they have a lot of similar type of traits overall as quarterbacks. But I think that, the way that Kirk is playing, I know we talked about the primetime stuff, but at least for the first couple of times he's been under primetime, Monday Night Football against Philly, and then, of course, yesterday, he's been able to rise to the occasion, especially late in games. So got to give a little credit to the Atlanta Falcons, and, we'll see in terms of where things happen when they play each other back in Tampa.
All right, quick thoughts around Anthony. Quick thought on the game.
Yeah, I thought it was a classic shootout. A lot of ebbs and flows in this game. Kept you on your toes most of the game, and it was finally that first game where the Falcons' offense was finally able to click on all cylinders. So that was great to see. I was happy for Kirk Cousins. It's definitely upsetting for Bucky Irvin, the rookie running back for the Buccaneers. That fumble, he was definitely upset at the game. It was crucial. Also, when the Buccaneers got the interception, they looked like it was a guaranteed field goal. Losing yardage and getting out of field goal range, that definitely hurt him. I thought Mayfield had a great game, and the offense overall was good, but their defense let him down. But I was happy for Kirk Cousins, and this was the Falcons' offense that I think everybody expected heading into the season.
Zan?
Yeah, I mean, this was an unbelievable game, especially the last 3 minutes of regulation. And again, it looked like Tampa at the game one, and that's why you can never turn these games off. There's been a noticeable trend. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but I've certainly noticed it. A lot of these primetime games, at least this season, minus the ones we were just referencing before we got on this afternoon at the time that this is gonna drop Saturday afternoon. Outside of the one we were referencing with Miami and Tennessee, almost every single national, maybe Miami, Tennessee, and the Jets and the Patriots. My point being, almost every single game outside of those two that's been a nationally televised game has been an instant classic, and this was another one of those instances. And to see Kirk Cousins poised enough to go down on that game-tying field goal drive, to have the awareness to know that, hey, there's only 5 seconds left on the clock. Yep. We have to go down and we have to spike the ball as quickly as we can, because if we can't do it, then Young Wei Koo doesn't come in to try to kick a game-tying field goal. So it's crazy how quickly things can turn. It's a wacky division. It's like every single team in that division, for the most part, is playing really good football. And as Ben alluded to, I think the rematch in a couple weeks down in Tampa is going to be awesome.
Pat?
ETL Kirk O'Bangs is coming for the 1 seed, baby. Kirk Cousins with the grill. And Drake London having the best game of his career was also massive. I thought that was awesome. Kyle Pitts looked great. But no, in all seriousness, Atlanta's offense was firing on all cylinders. The Bucs looked great too. I thought both teams looked as good as they have in any game this season, basically. And I'm looking forward to their matchup in a couple weeks.
And Nick?
Well, I wouldn't say both teams have looked as good as they could have looked. I mean, Kirk Cousins did throw for 509 yards. I mean,
the numbers were insane.
Could have held them to like 499, and that still wouldn't have been great. I thought it was amazing how much Kirk Cousins has completely dispelled his reputation as a bad primetime player. I felt like he threw the ball 58 times, Kirk Cousins, and
too many.
They ran the ball they ran the ball 18 times. So they seemed overly reliant on the pass game. They only have 2 running backs that they're using. And I thought I was watching a Big 12 game. That's what it felt like.
Yep.
That's what it felt like.
I mean, too much throwing, not enough running. I feel like Bijan is still like non-existent out on the field a little bit to me. Like they don't use him. It seems like they don't. Yeah. They're not in sync. But
it kind of feels like Kyle Pitts of this year.
Think they would. But the bottom line is, I think the Falcons are a better team, even though I think they probably shouldn't have won that game. I'll say this. Both of these teams hover around average in a division where every team sort of hovers around average.
I mean, if it wasn't for the Bucs giving the ball back twice, there would have been no overtime in this game whatsoever. And also, we're forgetting the face mask penalty that was not called either.
Yeah, that's it.
That would have changed the whole game. But all right, let's move on. Let's go to this week as we are in week 5 and we start in ye old London. And we have the Jets well, they say it's at the Vikings. It's really a neutral site game, but I guess it's a
Well, it's versus
Vikings.
I think it should say versus Vikings. I think because they're playing in London.
Yeah.
If
All right.
anything, the Jets should be the home team because their time zone is closer to New York is closer to London than Minnesota.
It's true. But
technically,
we look at this game. I guess, Nick, you and I will start on this game, but bad performance by the Jets. I know the weather was bad. I know the weather was swirling. I don't know. Bo Nix looked terrible. Wasn't there a stat that he had negative yardage at one point during the game?
It was his first half. He had those negative 7 yards or something.
Yeah. So this is a bad game. But Nick, you start, and I'll follow behind you on this one.
I like Minnesota -2.5. The Jets have played 4 games and they look good in one of them. So and the Vikings, they're on a hot streak right now. The problem with this game is that I don't like it. I don't like this game because it's a question mark. How good are either of these teams in London? We don't really know yet.
You're talking about the mystery of going overseas.
Right. So that's the thing. Both teams are it's a neutral site game in London, which is going to be it's going to be a 9:30 game. So which is going to be 8:30 Central Time for Minnesota. So both teams, the whole time zone thing is going to be messing up both teams, which I think makes it. I mean, I think so far the Vikings have looked like a little bit better of a team than the Jets for sure.
A little.
Definitely. Well, they've been better, but I mean, I think the spread looks about right, 2.5. So Vegas is telling us Vikings are a field goal better than the Jets, basically, is what they're saying. But I like the Vikings just because I'm not sold on the Jets yet, really. And honestly, if they were to lose to the Vikings, I wouldn't really be that angry about it.
Me neither, but it's obvious to me.
The Vikings are pretty good right now, but you never know. Sometimes these teams come back down to earth. The season is long. The Falcons in 2015 were undefeated for the longest period of time. They didn't even make the playoffs that year. The Cardinals 3 years ago, they were undefeated for the longest period of time. They didn't do so great, later in the season. So who knows?
All right, so you have them covering, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm not happy about last week's performance. You already know this. That was an embarrassment losing to the Broncos last week. I don't care what people tell me. I don't care about the weather conditions. By the way, Zerline missed a pretty easy kick to give them the win. He shanked it so far right, I think it ended up in the parking lot. And Aaron and Robert Saleh, again, tussling in the media after the game because Robert Saleh comes out and says that, Aaron Rodgers' cadence was off during that game. By the way, the best quarterback in the history of football that can get any defense to jump off sides, you're saying his cadence is off. And then Aaron had to go back at him after. So, there's a disconnect in the locker room whatsoever. This is, I know, Nick, you say there's no obvious when it comes to Vegas and spreads.
If it feels too good, it is.
No, but this one is as obvious as it gets. And I'm opening up the bidding early because I'm locking this game. Taking the Vikings.
You know what? Okay. Here's the thing, though. I don't know how the public is going. If the public is really on one side, usually it goes the other way, is all I'm saying.
I feel like this is obvious. The Vikings are... You're right.
I think so, too. I'm just saying I don't think anything is that obvious.
But I think the Vikings are one of the hottest teams in football right now with Sam Darnold, which I can't believe I'm saying that right now.
Which is why it would make no sense if the Jets would beat them.
Right. So that's
which is why it would happen.
Exactly. All right. I'll go to the Pats fan. Ben, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, I don't like it either. I will say, I do think with the Jets-Broncos game, the weather was a massive factor, and I hate obviously saying that as an excuse because I think the Jets should have had that game regardless of the weather or not. But I look at this overall team, and I will say this: I got to give I did have a belief in Sam Darnold's going to turn it around, but I got to give him my props. He's been absolutely fantastic so far this year. He's been able to go into places like Lambeau Field. And last week, and I know that obviously his second half wasn't great, but His accuracy has been phenomenal. Him and Justin Jefferson have had a fantastic core. And the defense still, I think for the most part, I still have a pretty big belief in this defense. I just was looking at Aaron Rodgers got sacked 5 times last week. The Broncos have a really good defense, and the Vikings have a really good defense as well. Brian Flores has a lot of he's one of the highest teams in terms of sack rates, in terms of going after the quarterback. They do a lot of blitz packages, and with the Jets' offensive line, I thought they really struggled against a front like Denver's last week. So I think that when you look at this overall game, I don't like it, but I'm going to go with the Vikings here at 2.5. I think that they're going to keep on riding this overall wave that they have right now, and I think it's going to be a close game, but I think that the Vikings are going to pull it out here.
Anthony.
Yeah, I know you said that was an embarrassing loss last week, and you were talking about Bo Nix having negative yards, but the reason why the Broncos won that game wasn't because of Bo Nix. It was because of their defense. And the last 3 weeks, the Broncos' defense has been pretty solid. I mean, Pat Surtain is in the conversation for one of the best cornerbacks in football. Zach Allen, their defensive lineman, is one of the top guys in quarterback pressure. So maybe they're kind of an unknown defense. You know, a lot of names you don't know, but they're quietly a really good defense, and they've been like that over the last 3 weeks. Now, the Vikings also have a good defense. They're, right now a juggernaut so far this season, looking like they can't be beat. But I just feel like at this point, the Vikings are due for a loss. The Jets obviously do need to win. Having that, loss to the Broncos, I think they're going to be highly motivated to win. And we see this all the time in the NFL. You have these ups and downs and the ebbs and flows. It's a long season, like Nick D said. So I'm going to go with the upset here. I think the Jets pull off the upset in this one.
Wow. Didn't see that one coming. Pat, go ahead.
I'm with Anthony here. I feel like Vegas tries to tell us something with these lines, and they're trying to tell us to either bet the Vikings heavy at 2.5 or bet the Jets money line heavy. And I think they're trying to tell us to bet the Vikings. Like he said, the Vikings are due for a loss. The Jets are a tough team on paper. They have a tough quarterback. And I just feel like this is a game that feels so easy to pick that it's going to go the other way. And I'll take the Jets for that reason alone, honestly.
Wow. Zan.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna agree with those 3 too, and say that Minnesota drops a game they shouldn't. And this is the one. I think you get these weird London games where the game doesn't go the way you think. You look at a prime example, Miami and Kansas City last year, and if you recall, I was wrong on that. I said that Miami would upset the Chiefs, and they didn't. But it had that similar vibe the whole game, where it looked like Miami was going to win at the end. And I think as long as the Jets keep it close, and I think whoever has the ball last is going to win. And I think it's going to come down to who makes the final mistake. And I think Sam Darnold is going to find a way to finally lose a game and go back to his old Sam Darnold ways. That's what I think.
Wow, didn't see that one coming. With some people flipping to the Jets. All right, moving on. Browns at the Commanders. Commanders are a -3.5 favorite. And like I said last week, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. I'll take this one since I'm the one who seems to be on the Commanders train with Jayden Daniels. The Browns have a lot of issues. I think I also saw, because I have all the injury reports and stuff, because there's a ton of them this week. Njoku is questionable with a chance to go with a high ankle sprain. I think Deshaun Watson has an injured ego, but that's just me. But yeah, I'm going to lean on the Commanders on this one. I'm very high on the Commanders right now. I like the way Jayden Daniels is playing. I like the way he's using his feet to get out of the pocket when the pocket collapses. So I'm going to take them to cover. Zan.
Yeah, I like this Commanders team too. They've been playing really well. Jayden Daniels had a really, really nice game against the Bengals to win that one. And the Commanders look like a team that's slowly but surely playing its best football they have in maybe about a decade since they were under the old name, if you will. I think this Cleveland team is a dumpster fire. I think they're slowly but surely a disaster. And I also think their offense is unwatchable. It's very early in the show, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have to win one of these at some point. I'm locking the Commanders to beat the Browns.
Okay. Nick.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you have to kind of predict the future based on the past. If somebody tells you who they are, believe them. You know that saying.
Yes.
The Browns have kind of told us who they are in 4 games. They played in 4 games, and they've looked good in none of them. The only game they won was against the Jaguars, which, I mean, they
That's
might be
not
the
saying
worst.
much.
They might be the worst team in the NFL right now. The Browns lost to the Giants and the Raiders in their last 2 games. The Commanders have been great. The Commanders, they might be better than the Eagles this year.
I agree.
So far, they probably have been. Jaden Daniels is probably the best Brian Kelly quarterback ever.
That's
I can't
saying
think of
much.
any other Brian Kelly quarterback that's been this good. So Commanders.
You can't. You can't because all of the other ones didn't amount to anything in the pros or didn't even play in the pros.
Or most of them didn't amount to anything in college. Even
That's a good point. Pat.
So this Commanders offense is just so ridiculous. I mean, they have more drives where they've scored than Jaden Daniel has total incompletions so far this season. It's actually a ridiculous statistic. So I love, as a Giants fan, I love this Commanders offense right now. It's just rolling on all cylinders. And the Browns, as Zan said, are a dumpster fire, and it is horrendous over there. I would say that the Browns are the kind of team that's defense is good enough to prevent the Commanders enough and then win a game, but their offense is just so bad compared to the Commanders. I cannot pick them at 3.5. I feel like the Commanders are the safe pick here.
Anthony.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the Browns because I feel like their wide receivers have played pretty good. You know, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, they've been making plays, but unfortunately, Deshaun Watson's a shell of himself. And surprisingly, the Browns' offensive line hasn't been good this year. You know, the Browns have always been known, for the last few years of having a really good dominant offensive line. And, really quickly it got old and it got injured. So now their offensive line's not doing them any favors. And having that combined with Deshaun Watson is, a recipe for disaster. The Commanders, I got to give Nick Morganson credit. He was on the Commanders before any of us. Jaden Daniels has been phenomenal. Kind of having a similar, not a similar style, but a similar rookie year that we saw with CJ Stroud the year before. Their offense, Terry McLaurin, they're tough to stop. So I'm not picking against them, especially not with the Browns. So I'm going to go with the Commanders to win and cover as well.
Ben. Ben, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm going with the clean sweep with you guys. I really love this Commanders team right now. They've been averaging 30 points a game as of recently, and they have an over 50% third down conversion rate. I mean, that's absolutely insanity to have with the way that things are going with them. The Browns, the offense is dumpster fire. They have Wyatt Teller out for a couple weeks. They have Jedrick Wills been out, 2 of their main offensive linemen. They're still without Nick Chubb currently, and obviously I think he's the biggest focal point because you just can't trust Deshaun Watson anymore. You just can't to be specifically consistent out there. I like the Commanders here. I'm actually joining Zam for my lock of the week. I like them that much.
Okay. All right. Where are we going here? All right. This is actually probably one of the better games of the week coming up. Ravens at the Bengals. Ravens are a -2.5 favorite on the road. Anthony, take us where to go.
Yeah, I think the Ravens finally showed us last week of who they can be. It really goes to show you when you got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that's almost impossible to stop. And then with the tight ends that they have, the defense with Kyle Van Noy is playing better now. Obviously they had a slow start at the beginning of the season, but against Buffalo, you really saw what this Ravens team can be. And the reason why a lot of people thought they could give Kansas City the hardest run for their money in the AFC. The Bengals obviously got their first win. Joe Burrow has, played better over the last couple of weeks. Chase Brown, the running back, has emerged for the Bengals. Jamar Chase has played better. T. Higgins is back, but not against the Ravens. The Ravens right now are looking like the juggernaut we thought they were. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, I don't know really how you stop them. Their pass rush is good, so I'm going to go with the Ravens to win and cover in this one.
Pat.
This is probably my toughest pick of the week because I do feel like the Bengals are going to rebound a bit, but it's like Ann said, it's a horrible team to try to rebound against. The Ravens have been so hot and so good. And like Derrick Henry just put up 200 plus yards last week. Lamar finally started clicking. I know the Bengals have looked good, but there's still a lot of flaws in that offense and in that team in general. I mean, I want to pick the Bengals. I really do because I feel like they're due for a couple of wins, but I still have to pick the Ravens here.
All right, Nick.
Ravens, and this is my lock of the week.
Oh, wow.
This is my lock of the week. The Ravens have looked great lately outside of they had one bad game against the Raiders. It was one bad game that they had. Other than that, they've looked pretty convincingly like a good team. The Bengals have been bad every single game. I think the Bengals are due for a win, just not against the Ravens.
No.
Even the win that they
they're
had,
due
their
for a
defense
decent
isn't great.
game. I think the Bengals will keep it closer than you might think they will, but I still think the Ravens cover 2.5 because this is a 2.5 point spread is just a pick 'em basically.
Well, yeah, 3 and under. Yeah, I mean, they're essentially saying it's gonna be a close game. Zan, what do you think here?
Yeah, I like the Ravens here. I mean, and I think really the key in this game is if Lamar Jackson doesn't turn the ball over, they have a chance to win any game they play in. And I just think Cincinnati's too inconsistent. They didn't win the games they were supposed to early in the year, including the games against the Commanders and the Patriots. Even though they're playing at home, they're playing a team that's still pissed off that they lost to Vegas a couple weeks ago. And I don't think the Ravens have totally taken the stench out of that one. And now this is just a revenge tour that they're on to try to beat every other AFC team that they can. So with that being said, I like Baltimore to cover the spread.
Yeah, looking at this game, I'm disrespecting the Bengals still because I've been very adamant about how this team looks. They did not look good in the first half against the Panthers this past week. I was very concerned in the first half the way they were playing. And Andy Dalton was, like I said, when we did that game, as long as they stay close in the first half, it's going to be a game. Their defense kind of fell apart in the second half, and that's why they lost the game. But I thought this was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. But you're not beating the Ravens. I don't care if it's a home game, away game, a neutral game. You're not beating the Ravens. The Ravens are one of the best teams in football right now. Derrick Henry looks like the top running back in football right now. You're not beating him the way he's running the ball. So I'm going to take them to cover. Ben.
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens here at 2.5. As much as I want the Bengals to have do well and stuff like that, this and that, I think that with the Bengals, Joe Burrow hasn't really been their issue as a whole. It's just been like how bad their defense has been. They're giving up a ton of yardage, especially to guys like Andy Dalton, who was just coming in as a backup a couple weeks ago. No offense to Andy, but you just kind of think that the defense for the Cincy team this year would be a lot better than they have this year, and it hasn't been getting better. It actually has gotten worse, at least for the time being right now. So I'm going to go with the Ravens here. They've been scoring a ton of points, and I agree with Nick and Zan. I mean, that Raiders loss that they had, I feel like with the Ravens at times, they might be having a game here and there like early this season. I remember last year they had kind of one of those games, kind of like an outlier. Like I think that they're just a very, very good overall team. As like a big picture. So with Derrick Henry running the ball the way he's doing, I don't even think that Mark Andrews has even gone going yet. And once that he can get going, I mean, just watch out because that offense is extremely dynamic. Give me the Ravens here at 2.5.
All right, moving on. I'm going to go back to Anthony again on this one, obviously, because we know where we're going next game. Bills at the Texans. This line actually flipped. This was actually Bills -1. Quite a few hours ago before we put this game in. Before we started, this actually flipped to Texans -1. That's how close the spreads are in this game. So the Texans are a 1-point favorite at home. Anthony, thoughts on the spread flipping, number one?
It probably had a lot to do with the injuries for the Bills. I know they reported earlier that Bills' top receiver, Khalil Shakir, wasn't going to be able to play in the game. That's obviously huge for the Buffalo Bills. He's been their key guy. Obviously, they're kind of a wide receiver by committee. They like to spread it around, but he's really been their number one guy if you have to pick one. And that's definitely a crucial loss. Obviously, the Bills, you definitely can see in the last game, those injuries on defense, finally came back to haunt them. And going up against Derrick Henry, you're not going to be able to stop him even when you are healthy. I think, obviously, the Texans, they don't have a Derrick Henry. Obviously, they got injuries at the running back position, so it should be a little easier for the Bills. Obviously, everybody's going to know this is the Stephon Diggs game. So that's going to be the huge things to watch. Stephon Diggs is obviously going to want to win this game and prove that he was the reason for the Bills' success. And obviously the Bills are going to want to do the same thing on the opposite end and prove that they can win and that it wasn't Diggs and that it's the team and not just one player. I think the fact that the Bills lost against the Ravens in such a bad fashion, I think they're going to be highly motivated. I think Josh Allen's too good of a quarterback to not respond. Obviously, that game wasn't really his fault. Had a lot to do with the defense and other things around him. But I think Joe Brady will be motivated. Obviously, he had that bad call that caused Allen to get hurt a little bit, and the turnover. That was a bad play call. So I think he's got something to prove as well. The Bills are going to be wanting to prove that, they don't need Stephon Diggs. And this is not saying this is the Super Bowl, but this is one of those games that they circled. So give me the Buffalo Bills in this one.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just going to take this one quick. Mixon out injured. That's massive. They have to start Akers, and I forgot who the other third string running back is, but they have. Do you know who it is, Ben, or no?
Is it
Is Pierce healthy?
Pierce?
I don't think Pierce is healthy either.
Neither is Ogunbowale, I don't think either.
No, they said it was going to be Ogunbowale and Akers. So I think that's going to affect some of the offense. Tank Dell is coming back, but he's still questionable with the chest, but they said he's going to play. I don't know. This is like a battle of the injuries a little bit to me. There's a lot of injuries on both sides. Stroud has not been playing up to snuff the way that we know that he knows how to play. He's looked a little off. He's thrown quite a few more picks this year than normal when he did last year. I'm worried about the offense a little bit on the Texans side. I think I'm going to lean with Anthony too. I think I'm going to take the Bills also. Ben, what do you think?
I'm leaning the Bills too. They only scored 10 points last week, and I think that they have the bounce back in this one. The Texans right now, folks, have only averaged around 20 points a game, and I feel like they definitely could be getting into the next gear. But I do think that with the loss of Mixon, I think that it's a massive thing because they have to pass a lot more. And I think with the Bills, defensively, I think they're going to be kind of leaning towards that, is to make sure to force them to pass in a ton. And as much as I love CJ Stroud, I think that this favors the Bills. I think that the Bills offense won't be winning this game, I think, on Sunday. I'm going to go with their defense. I think they have a much better game after what they had last week. They know it. Their defensive coordinator knows it. So, yeah, give me the Bills at +1.
Okay, Zan. Zan, you're muted.
Yeah, this is a game that I've gone back and forth on pretty much all week. But I think the Texans are due for a win here. I just think playing in Houston in that Dome Stadium, there's something about CJ Stroud at home that just makes me believe that he'll play well. So will Josh Allen. I expect this game to be arguably the best game of the week in terms of offensive production. I'm going to see somewhere like a 38-34 final score, and Tank Dell scores the winning touchdown for Houston with like 30 seconds left. I think it's going to be probably the best AFC game of the season to this point.
All right, so you have them covering.
Yep.
Nick.
The Bills. Definitely the Bills. First of all, it feels like a bounce back game for the Bills. Second of all, I think Houston's a little overrated. I really don't think they're that good. They're a good team. They win games. They also haven't really beaten anybody all that good. I mean, the Colts and Bears are the two best teams that they beat, and they're probably below average teams. I mean, they needed a fourth quarter comeback against Jacksonville, I think. Against Jacksonville. And it's like, okay, the Texans are 3-1, but they're not beating good teams. And I'm not saying there's any shame in that, but that doesn't prove anything to me. And then when they played Minnesota, they finally went to Minnesota and played them. They got killed. So we don't know which Texans team we're going to get. The Bills have looked vastly better than the Texans. And it's only a 1-point spread. I mean, a pick 'em? Yeah, definitely I'll take the Bills. The Bills are so much better.
I mean, as you would say right now, until streaks and hot streaks and cold streaks change.
Now, like, I don't think the Texans are really that good.
They are scaring me a little bit. I will say that, considering everyone said they were going to be a top team in the NFL.
No, they're not.
They made them out to be like up there in the same tier as the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're the best team in their division, but they're not up there with the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills. They're just
everyone was expecting them to take a step up, and they're not doing it. But
they're not really any better than they were last year.
That's true. Pat, what do you think here?
I think you guys are all overreacting. We're 4 games through the season, and we're talking about a 3-1 team here. I mean, really? We're talking about they're not good?
I'm not
Like,
saying
what?
they're bad. I'm just
We
saying
didn't
I'm not
say they
convinced
were
that they're
bad.
that good. That's the whole point. We're 4 games in the season. They haven't beaten anybody that good.
They haven't fought. They haven't played anyone that good other than the Vikings.
Yeah,
And
and
they got blown. Yeah, so did the Bills last week against the Ravens.
No,
the one
I'm
time they
just
played
saying-
someone good this
yeah,
year.
no, I agree. I'm just saying the point I'm making is that the Bills have looked better than the Texans. have.
I definitely agree with that. Their offense has put up a lot more points, and I agree. It's just like we're talking about a 3-1 team here. We're talking about like they're disappointing and how like this and that, and I'm like they're 3-1. Like I think they win this week. I think they upset the Bills, or I guess this isn't an upset because they're the favorites now. But I think they win this week at home. I think they capitalize off the fact that the Bills just got their butts whooped by the Ravens bad, and I think that they're going to come in with more momentum, and I think they're going to win this game. I just don't
Pat,
know. Like, I just feel like you guys are talking about the Texans like it's like, oh well, they started the season off so badly, and they're underperforming.
I think they're a little overrated. That's all I said.
That's fair. That's more than fair.
I
because-
think
Yeah.
I think they're a little
The way
overrated just
the
from
media-
the offensive standpoint. I think a
Oh,
little
so
bit.
Pat,
and Stroud definitely has fallen off a bit this year for sure. I just think like that was going to happen if the team was going to be playing good. Like they're playing good team football.
Oh, Pat, so you agree with me then? You
think they're going to
I
cover?
think the Texans cover.
All right, moving on. First fast track here. I'll go to my Bears fan first over there. Panthers at the Bears. Bears -4 at home. Zan.
Well, first off, this is unrelated to the spread. We'll get to the spread in just a second. But have you guys seen the most expensive ticket to this game is $1,000?
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
For
There has to be,
Panthers,
like-
Bears, yeah.
I'd
Is
rather
there like a
flush it down the
ceremony going
toilet.
on?
I don't know what
Is that a suite?
Yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on here in Chicago this weekend that's making it that high, but apparently it's the hottest ticket in the city this weekend, and no, I won't be there. I'll be at the Bears' next home game against New England next month, which was
Hopefully you
actually
get Drake May.
yeah, which would be fun.
Don't get your
Anyway,
hopes up.
Anyway, there's a sole reason why I didn't pick this game as my lock of the week, and simply put, I want to win. I want to win the pick. So I just think overall, the Bears did enough to prove me wrong. I ate crow on the most recent edition of Bando's breakdowns, and I was totally wrong. I took the Rams. I thought the Rams would go in and make an example out of the Bears. They did anything. They did anything but that.
Exact opposite.
Cable Williams has now played 2 pretty clean statistical games in a row, and as long as the Bears defense is within a touchdown almost every single game, the Bears are going to keep the game close. The Bears overall have more weapons. Again, we're talking about Andy Dalton who's still a backup quarterback and not the same Andy Dalton that he was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I think the Bears are the better team. I think they cover it, and I think they moved their winning streak to 2. So I think they win this week.
Nick.
Yeah, I like the Bears. The Panthers stink. I'm not big on the Bears this year at all, but I think they're a lot better than the Panthers because the Panthers are at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
So yeah, give me the Bears.
Ben.
Yeah, I haven't picked the Bears all year, but this is my first week. Zan, go with your Bears, man.
There you
go. At least the first for something every week, Yeah, I like the Bears this week. I mean, like you mentioned, Caleb Williams is starting to play a lot better the last couple weeks here. And the Panthers, I mean, yeah, I agree with Nick. They're kind of a bottom of the barrel type of team. If you're the Bears specifically, in a really good division, you got to win games like this. You got to take advantage in terms of your schedule. So yeah, give me the Bears here to cover.
Okay.
Anthony.
Yeah, I think the Bears got a great defense. Obviously, their offense has struggled, but it has definitely improved. Caleb Williams, Zan was alluding to, is definitely improved, and you're definitely starting to see a little bit of that development. Obviously, he's starting to be cleaner with the football. And with the Panthers, obviously, they don't have a good defense, and ever since they made the quarterback change, they played better, but mainly their offense has been better. Obviously, their defense really hasn't. And I think going up against the Bears defense, I think they're going to be able to shut down Andy Dalton. I think the Panthers don't have the defense to really force Caleb Williams into turnovers. So I think that's a bad combination. So I think the Bears win. I think they cover. And the Bears are going to be my lock of the week.
Whoa. Got thrown for a loop there. Pat.
So I do think the Bears win, but I am scared that the Panthers make this game a little bit closer than it should be, and I'm not sure if it will be like a 3-point game or something. I will take the Bears, and I'll take them to cover, but I am a bit worried that the Panthers make it a lot closer than it should be.
Okay. And that leaves me. So, yeah, last week I thought the Panthers had a chance just because the Bengals were off. Sorry, not this week. The Bears are a much better defensive team. Caleb Williams, you have no idea what you're going to get every week. You're either going to get the guy that throws 370 yards, or you're going to get the guy that throws for 100 yards and a couple picks. But I think their defense is just way better than any offensive weapon that the Panthers have. So I'm going to lean on the Bears, too, on that one. All right. Moving on. Where are we going here? We're going to another fast-track game. The Colts at the Jaguars. This is not a great game. Ben, start us off.
This is going to go down as a really, like, one of the games you just rather watch, like, baseball players or something. This is just going to be an absolute awful game. You have potentially Anthony Richardson out, and I don't think Richardson has been great, but I do feel personally that the Colts, I mean, I don't know, because Joe Flacco came in and he looked just like the Browns Joe Flacco version of last year, where Deshaun went down and Joe Flacco came back on the scene and he looked good. I don't know. I like the Colts here. The Jaguars, to me, the games that they've been even close enough to win, they haven't been winning. I haven't been liking the way that Coach Peterson's been doing all year with them. I know that Trevor Lawrence played a little bit better last week, but he's been extremely inconsistent right now. The big picture, he hasn't been playing great football. I know that obviously Jonathan Taylor's out, so it's kind of really hard to kind of choose who I want to go with here. But if we're going to kind of look at the big overall picture team, if we're going to look at both quarterbacks, I'm going with Joe Flacco. I mean, the way that he's been playing as of late, I know it's obviously a very small sample size, but I like the way that he's been playing, and honestly would take him in a game like this over Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to go with the Colts here.
Anthony.
Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, I think this sets up perfectly for the Jacksonville Jaguars to get their first win of the season. So I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win. Honestly, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars definitely looked much improved last week. They had a kind of a pretty competitive game with the Houston Texans. I thought Trevor Lawrence looked better. Obviously, you can see Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie wide receiver, emerging. He has all the talent in the world. And with the Colts having the injuries, I do agree with Ben that maybe Joe Flacco may be the better option at quarterback. Obviously, he's probably the better passer. He probably gives them a better chance of getting the ball down the field than Anthony Richardson does at this point. But with Jonathan Taylor having his injuries, being on the road, Jacksonville really, really desperately needs a win. They're the only team in the NFL that doesn't have one. And I think this is the week that they get it done, and I think Jacksonville wins and covers.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. This is a bad game. Like Nick and I would talk a lot of gambling. I'd call this the degenerate gambler game, where if you really need some action on a game, this is the game you would pick. Like you went through all your obvious picks and you found this one. You're like, all right,
dude, degenerate gamblers move on.
No. This is no. This is the game you bet on after you go 0 for 13 in college football.
That's what I mean.
The day before, and then you lose the London game on top of it, and this is like a last resort where you pretty much tell yourself, if you bet this game, you're never betting again.
That's what I mean. Like, this is the game where you say, all right, I lost $1,000. I'm going to put $1,000 on this game. I'm going to try to win it all back. So this game is bad.
Worst game of the entire week.
Right. So you have alone, like we just said with the Colts. Taylor's out. Richardson with the hip injury. Who knows if he's going to play? Usually when you're questionable, a lot of times they do play. But who knows if he's going to play? The Jaguars have been bad, too. I actually think, this might be a hot take, but I think Peterson's job is on the line for this game, this week.
It could and be. You could be right.
And they have to win a game. They can't start 0-5. They start 0-5 because they had a much bigger reputation to win more games. They have not won a game. They should have won a few games already based on the way their schedule has. And Trevor Lawrence has looked like utter garbage so far this year. Okay, so I'm going to take the Jaguars, but I'll take
You
them to
just gave
cover.
every reason not to take the Jaguars.
No, I'm saying they have to. I'm saying that they have to win.
It's
my
like
point.
essentially they're desperate. You know,
Well, here's the thing.
he has to pick
You
them, but he
say
doesn't
they
like
have
it.
to win. I would argue Trevor Lawrence couldn't play good football to save his life.
But that's my point. I'm saying that everything is against them, but they have to win if Doug Peterson wants to keep his job. So I'm reluctantly taking them to cover. But if they lose, I could see in the headlines after the game, Doug Peterson fired for not winning. Zan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of just alluded to it in the middle of your rebuttal, so I apologize for
It's okay.
interrupting. But I think I made a pretty good point, and I'm going to reemphasize it again. This is the worst game of the week, and you've got Jonathan Taylor out, which is going to impact multiple fantasy owners. You've got Trevor Lawrence, who's played relatively inconsistent, and you just have a team that at 0-4 just looks lost. But to be fair, the Colts haven't really played that much better, and you could argue that the only game that they've really played well in was a game that they lost week 1 against Houston, in a game where you and I spoke directly afterward, and you and I both agreed that the Colts should have beat Houston, and they couldn't do it.
Yep.
So this is the result that the Colts have put themselves in. This is a game that even though on paper, although Vegas doesn't agree, that they should win. This is going to be where Jacksonville wins their first game, and it's going to be a really ugly game. It's going to be like right on that 4 number. It's going to be like 21-17, 24-17, a barely cover for Jacksonville to get over that 3 number to win win their first game of the season.
All right, Nick, I'll let you go because I know you were talking about it. So why don't you just give your pick?
Well, there's a few things with this. It's like everybody taking the Jaguars is basically saying, or everybody taking Jacksonville seems to be like picking them for all the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. It's just sort of like it's desperation. Like out of desperation, it's got to happen at some point. Like they.
Well, I'm not taking them out of desperation.
No, I'm saying not you're desperate, but like they're desperate is what you seem to be saying.
Oh no, I think it's because of the injuries. But
it's also Joe Flacco. Like this Colts team seems so much better with Joe Flacco than with Anthony Richardson. Mm-hmm. I mean, Anthony Richardson couldn't hit water if he fell off a boat. I mean, he's just been so bad.
That's good. All right, so who are you picking again?
So the Colts. Flacco is the reason.
Okay.
Joe
Pat.
Cool, man.
I hate the fact that I have to pick either of these teams.
Exactly.
Two underperforming teams in a bad matchup ravaged by injuries on both sides. I mean, this isn't going to be a fun game to watch. I guess give me Jacksonville to win. I guess because they're at home.
Exactly.
I really don't know.
You're like me. I have no clue.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Another fast track game. Dolphins are a 1-point favorite at the Patriots. My Patriots fan, Ben, what do you got for this game?
Yeah, I'm not excited. I will be point blank. The Patriots completely are unraveling to the max. Maybe more than ever than I've ever seen as a fan. Poor Jerome Mayo too, because I feel like a lot of people are going right at him for all the blame, but it's been more the fact of like all the offensive line is pretty much out. David Andrews pretty much their most important player. Think about this, guys. When was the last time that the most important player on a team was the center? I don't think there's many teams that you literally see, because I think that David Andrews is probably the most important part to this team to have any type of like glimmer, which is the crazy part. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. The Dolphins at least have some guys on the outside here, like Hill and Waddle, and I don't like Tyler Huntley at all. But I just think with the offensive line that we have, as Jerome Mayo said it best today, it's musical chairs with all the guys that essentially are on the offensive line. Caden Wallace is going to be out for like 6 weeks, one of their rookies, and she's going to be out for the year. And apparently Rondre Stevenson might not even be starting corner Mayo today. He's been having a lot of fumbling issues. They might be going with Antonio Gibson to be starting, which I think is kind of interesting. But I think this is going to be like a 15-14 type of game. It's going to be really, really ugly. Thankfully, nothing really else going on, so I'll watch it. But yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins here.
With a bunch of other games on.
Yeah, this is ugly.
Right.
I mean, this
But
is
the
ugly.
fact-
Like, if there's playoff baseball on, if
That's true,
there's
but you're a Patriot fan, so that makes sense.
yeah, if there's playoff baseball,
I kind of have to
preseason-
watch because it's my team, but I really don't want to watch this.
You really, I mean, if there's preseason NBA,
Welcome to our world. That's how we felt for years.
yeah,
I know.
really.
How do you
I
think?
know,
How do you
I
think we felt when Bryce Petty was playing?
Oh, jeez.
Bryce Petty,
But yeah, go watch MLB playoffs. Go watch the NBA preseason. Don't watch this game. This is probably one of the worst games on
I don't
the.
think anybody's watching the NBA preseason.
I would over this game.
Unless you're,
Well, the
unless
Celtics,
you're,
the Celtics
unless
do
you're
play
a
early that
real,
morning, so
unless you're a real degenerate gambler, and you,
Not
then
for
you
gambling perspective, but
don't gamble on this game. I'm telling you right now.
no, don't gamble on this game. This game is bad, by the way. If I remember correctly, after this game, the Dolphins are like 1-7 without Tua on the field. It's like some insane stat. This team falls apart without Tua on the field. Look what happened last week. They got demolished by Tennessee last
By
week.
Will Levis, the way that Will Levis has been
Well,
before then.
Will Levis got hurt, and then
Well, yeah, he got
they
hurt,
got
yeah.
demolished by Mason Rudolph of all quarterbacks. Okay, what does that tell you? Team stinks. Ben, you're not going to believe this, but I'm taking the Patriots as an upset on
All
this one, even though it's not really much of an upset because it's only a 1-point spread.
Yeah.
But I think the Pats
I'll take
win. I think the Pats defense might expose the Dolphins offensively just because Tua's not there. So I'm taking the Pats. Zan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think New England gets a win in the division. I wouldn't have believed it a couple of weeks ago, but this Miami team just looks so bad. And I'm not even saying that New England is any better because they're really not. But given the non-full strength, I guess you could say that Miami is at the moment with no Tua and an offensive line that just looks so depleted. I don't see how Miami goes up there in relatively, I would say, cold-ish weather, mid-50s, early 60s, whatever it's going to be. I don't see how they go up north, if you will, and put up even remotely a fight. I think New England covers this game easily and outright, and I think they win. This is an easy win for the Patriots, assuming they don't mess up with 2 minutes to go, assuming May doesn't turn the ball over or do something stupid. They should win.
Well,
Anthony?
May's not playing yet, so.
Well, that's true. Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
This is a tough game to pick. It's a flip of a coin. This game could go either way. Who knows how it's going to go, and honestly, who cares how it's going to go? Most of the people aren't going to be watching it. No, I'm just joking. But
No,
this
it's
is
fine.
definitely a tough game to pick. Being two inconsistent bad teams and it being a division game, obviously it could go a million different ways. But I'm going to go with the Patriots. They're the home team. I don't really like Jacoby Brissett, but I like him a hell of a lot more than I do Tyler Huntley or Skylar Thompson. So the Patriots got a good defense, definitely a good enough defense to shut down, Miami's quarterback. And obviously I think they got the advantage at quarterback in this one for probably the first time all season. So I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one.
Pat.
I'm sorry. Did you think I was going to take the Dolphins team I saw play last week going up to Foxborough as a 1-point favorite? Am I dumb or am I dumb? Like, really? Are we being serious? We all saw that Dolphins team last week, right?
Yes.
No one's picking them going up to Foxborough. I mean, are we serious? Tyler Huntley? Really?
No.
I listen, I thought it might be good too, but obviously he doesn't know that offense. He doesn't know the playbook. I mean, you saw what was it, right before halftime, I think it was, the 2-minute drill when the snap went 20 feet behind him.
Yes.
They recovered the fumble. Then Mason Rudolph comes in and they school them on a 2-minute drill. Like it's crazy. Like, Mason Rudolph came in and ran a beautiful 2-minute drill. When Tyler Huntley has been in for the whole game, he ran a 2-minute drill and he can't even catch a snap.
By the way, when you make Mason Rudolph look good, that's a problem.
It's an issue. So please give me the Patriots.
Okay.
Please.
Nick D, finish it up. Nick.
Oh, we can't hear you, Nick D.
Nick, can you hear us?
I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us?
Barely. You're you're all frozen.
Uh-oh.
What, do you want my pick?
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
All right. I'm going with the Patriots. I guess you could call it an upset special. I mean, this Dolphins team without Tua might be the worst team in the league.
Oh, we lost him.
I think he was going with the Patriots,
no.
though.
Yeah, he was definitely going with the Patriots. For
Something
sure.
with like the worst team in the league, I guess. Recently,
Yeah, he was saying the
I don't know.
Dolphins. This Dolphins team is the worst team in the league.
All right, we'll put him down for there. But by the way, just irony, Ben, everyone went with the Patriots except you. And you're the Patriots fan. What is this?
Hey, a couple of us
Yeah.
went with the Jets, and you were one of the ones that didn't. So
Well, there was
that's
3 of
true.
us that went with the Jets, though.
Yeah, I mean, I could go really either way. I think with the weapons that the Dolphins have, I don't like the way the Dolphins have been either. But man, our season could be potentially in shambles if anything. I mean, I think we're looking at top 3 pick potential. So,
All right.
well, we'll see. I mean, I hope we win.
All right, moving on. Cardinals at the 49ers. The 49ers are a 7.5-point favorite at home. Zan, what do you think about this game?
I mean, I like it overall. I think San Francisco is just slightly better than Arizona. I think this is a game where Brock Purdy balls out, and I think they get a comfortable lead in the third quarter, win something like 30-13. I think this is a really nice win for San Francisco against an Arizona team that, in my opinion, you don't know what Arizona team is going to show up on a week-to-week basis.
Okay. Pat, what do you think here?
I love the Cardinals. I really do. And it's a divisional
do.
game, and this is such a big spread. It's tough for me because I think they've looked good. It's just like last week was rough for sure. Like the offense looked rough last week against a team that doesn't have a good defense. They played a close game with the Lions, though, close game with the Bills, and then they destroyed the Rams. Like, I don't know. I have a good feeling about this Cardinals team. And as good as the Niners are, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They're dealing with a lot of stuff. I feel like the Cardinals are going to take a game from the Niners this year. So I'll have it be this one while they're still dealing with some problems and injuries. So give me the Cardinals, honestly.
Anthony.
Now, I know last week the 49ers had a high point spread again when they played the Patriots, and I know everybody was going to pick the 49ers, but I think I was the only one that thought the 49ers would win and cover. And obviously they beat the Patriots by 17 points. I don't think they're going to cover in this one. So I think it's going to be different. I think the 49ers win, but I got 49ers no cover. Yeah, like Pat referred to, obviously last week was a really bad week for the Cardinals. It was their first week where they didn't look like a good team. But honestly, besides that, they look like a really competitive team. I'm not sure how far they could go if they'll make the playoffs, but I definitely think they're going to, be a tough out for anybody. We see, each and every week that Marvin Harrison Jr. is becoming better and better. So that's a big point. Division games, I always said, are always close. I feel like whoever's the favorite in the division game always picked a no cover. So I think the 49ers win, but no cover. The Cardinals keep it close.
Okay, Ben.
Love that philosophy, by the way.
I'm running that train too. I think the Niners win, but I think the Cardinals take the points. One big factor is Trey McBride is going to be active in this game. And the Cardinals offense seems to look really good when he is out there. He just brings a massive factor to that game. They obviously have a really good running game with James Conner. Conner does a really good job against the Niners in previous times they faced them. And I also think with the Niners too. I mean, the Patriots offense is totally, they had a fumble and they had a pick six. So the Niners defense, as good as it is, they were able to pretty much win it single-handedly because the Patriots pretty much beat themselves. I think the Cardinals have a better offense than we do. So I think it's going to be a lot closer. And with the division, those two teams going against each other, I think with that 0.5 there, I think it's going to be within like 7 points, 8 points per se. But I think it's going to be like a field goal, like a 27-24 type of game. So I'm going to go with the Niners to win, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals to take the points.
All right. So when Nick D comes back, we'll get his pick. So that leaves me. I guess I was a little down on the Niners last week, but they totally covered in big fashion last week, and I kind of ate some crow on that one. The Cardinals are a good team, but again, it's very up and down. You're going to get really good games from them, then you're not going to get really good games from them. I know McBride is active, but is he 100% healthy? I don't know. Because I remember he had a massive collision a week ago, right? If I'm not mistaken, and that's what knocked him out of the game. I still have a lot of questions with the Niners offense too, with McCaffrey going to Germany to find out about his injury. And it's usually not good when you have to leave the country to find out what your injury is. I know Debo played last week, but is he 100% healthy? I don't know. So I guess I'm going to stay on trend with everybody else, and I'm going to take the Niners no cover because, again, the Cardinals can be a good team when they want to be a good team, and they play with a lot of effort. So I'll take the Niners, but I think they're going to stay under that 7.5. I think that hook changes everything. All right. Next game here, couple of fast tracks coming up. Raiders at the Broncos. This is just a terrible game in every way, shape, or form. Not much else I can really say. Pat, what do you think about this game?
Sorry. I think this is a game of shambles. It's a good. I think it's actually going to be better than it looks on paper, just because of the divisional matchup that it is. But I do lean that the Broncos get it done because of no Devontae Adams. The Devontae Adams thing really does impact the game for me because that means Jacoby Myers gets guarded by Surtain. Bowers will be the main target. Their run game is horrible. So I don't see the Raiders having much offense at all in this game. And we know their defense isn't good already. We've seen glimpses from the Broncos. They just beat the Jets. They just beat the Bucks. We've seen a lot more from the Broncos so far this year than we have the Raiders. So I have to lean the Broncos at home with a pretty low spread.
Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to pick the Broncos this week. Obviously, they already won back-to-back, and it's really hard for me to see the Denver Broncos winning 3 straight. But, with the Raiders, with Max Crosby being questionable, even if he plays, he won't be 100%. He makes that defense go. Obviously, Christian Wilkins, at defensive line did play good, but it was against the Browns. So that obviously helped them a lot getting that win. So I don't trust the Raiders. Obviously, with Devontae Adams being out like Pat alluded to, that's going to really hurt their offense, which is already stagnant already. The Broncos could win this game, based on defense. When you're the home team and you got a great defense, Bo Nix is doing his best not to turn the ball over. Now, obviously, he's not lighting it up, but he has been making some smart decisions with the ball. So I do think he'll be able to manage the game. The Broncos could win this game based on defense. So I'm going to go with the Broncos to win and cover as well.
Zan.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where I was kind of torn on just because these teams are similar in a lot of ways. I'm going to go off the assumption that Max Crosby does play this Sunday, and I'd like the Raiders to get another classic road upset win this time in Mile High. I think the Raiders do just enough to win this game. It's going to be somewhere between like the 31-27 range, so they'll win and cover the spread outright. I think Denver's good, but let's face it though, in one of their 2 games, they played a Tampa Bay team that, as we all know, just took Atlanta to overtime and nearly won. And Tampa Bay is one of the most underrated teams in football. I think this was just a 2-week spell where Denver just won 2 random games. I think they're going to get back to being the horrible offense that just looked disgusting in the early part of September. And I think the Raiders go in and win the game.
Okay. Looking at this game, it's a bad game. It's just a really bad game. This is one of the games you just don't want to watch either. I look at the Raiders, Devontae Adams. That's really the big thing for me. No Devontae Adams, they don't win whatsoever. That's the heart and soul of their offense. And I also think there's locker room chemistry issues going on in there right now. Their own coach couldn't stay off of social media and accidentally pressed like on Devontae Adams having his last snap in Vegas, which I'm sure he's going to come out and say that, oh, it was my social media manager who accidentally clicked it, not me. So I don't know what's going on in Vegas right now. But I'm going to take the Broncos just because I think they'll just run the ball through the Raider defense. Bo Nix is not much. That's really not saying anything. But it's going to be a barely cover, in my opinion. Okay. Who else didn't pick? Did everyone pick for this game? Oh, go ahead.
I didn't pick it. Yeah. Well, thankfully, if I didn't have to pick, I don't want to have to pick because, like you mentioned, this game is awful. So, but if I have to go with somebody, I will go with the Broncos. They at least been playing competent defense for the last couple weeks. The Jets offense, I know obviously the rain obviously was a massive factor, but the Jets offense for the most part, when you look at it on paper, it's going to be pretty good this year. I mean, you have obviously kind of the pieces they have the week before. They pretty much kept a lot of the pieces in check for Tampa Bay with Evans and Godwin and all those guys. So you look at it in terms of the Raiders, who are the pieces they have, and you lose one of their main pieces, and that's Devontae Adams. So I think with the Broncos, they're not going to win by their offense. It's going to be just like last week. They're going to win by their defense. Vance Joseph, remember everybody was scrutiny for him from last year, giving that 70 points to the Dolphins. I feel like ever since that happened, he's been obviously on a roll as of late. Just the way that the Broncos team has been. So I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I hate this game for both sides, but I'm going to go with the Broncos to win.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention there. There we go. Okay. Moving on. Another fast track game. My Giants fan in the room. Stand by here. Giants at the Seahawks. Seahawks -7. This actually went up a half a point since I looked at it. So it's now Seahawks -7. Giants on the road. Pat, thoughts on this game?
I mean, we don't have neighbors. We're probably not going to have Singletary. Our offense probably isn't going to do anything. I love my Giants, and we've actually exceeded my expectations this year, believe it or not. But with all these injuries and everything, the Seahawks have overexceeded my expectations, and I think they should cover the 7. I mean, it's possible they don't, because the Giants are stupidly good at times, I guess you could say. But yeah, give me the Seahawks to cover.
I'm just going to jump in. I think, again, the Giants are falling apart with injuries, which is not good. That usually happens at about the quarter point of the season for the Giants. It's either they're fully healthy for a year or they fall apart and have a ton of injuries, and then we find out how bad the team is after all this, and then you're going to start getting all the questions about, is Daniel Jones worth keeping at the quarterback position, and then question after question after question. I wouldn't say Seattle is perfect by any means. Let me be clear about that, number one. Geno is not a perfect quarterback by any means. Excuse me, but their offensive weapons are definitely better, and I think their defense will be able to keep the Giants in check for sure. I think this is an easy cover. Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if Malik Neighbors and Singletary was in there, not saying I'd pick them, but I think that they would, want to be a cover for the Seahawks. Obviously, I kind of feel bad for Daniel Jones. He's not a great quarterback, but I feel like he's always the scapegoat. He's always the guy that all Giants fans want to put the blame on. And a lot of times this season, it hasn't been his fault. Maybe week one it was, but a lot of times it's just been mismanagement, sometimes bad coaching or just drops by the wide receivers. Malik Neighbors has been electrifying. As a rookie, he's been one of the top, 3 or 5 receivers in the entire National Football League. He finally gives Daniel Jones a true number 1 receiver. But now that he's not out there, obviously you can't have faith in this offense. Wando Robinson, he gets a decent amount of targets, but he drops the ball a lot. And without those guys, I know the Giants do have a good defense, which, if Geno turns the ball over, maybe that makes this game close. But being the home team with the injuries that the Giants have, I think the Seahawks will win and cover.
All right, Ben.
Yeah, I was considering this to be my lock of the week before I went with my lock with I'm pretty sure it was the Ravens, or I don't even remember this point. Commanders, thank you. But the Seahawks, they obviously had a really close game against the Lions last week. This feels like just a primary bounce back type of week. The Giants are super depleted, and the offense that Daniel Jones was running with, I got to give him credit. He's been playing fairly well under his standards. But when you take away his number 1 target, it might go back to kind of what Daniel Jones was of the past. I'm not saying obviously he's going to be completely wretched per se, but essentially when you have a team that's going from East Coast to West Coast, a lot of the times than not, it's usually not great. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. They're a really good team at home, and I think that their offense is still really, really good. The Lions obviously are just another really good team as well too. So they obviously kind of went into a really good overall environment over there. So I'm going to go Seattle. I think they cover this one pretty handily. So I'm going to go Seattle.
Zan.
Seattle. I was even thinking about making this my lock of the week, but Nick, you know how I feel when it comes to these touchdown spreads. I usually stay away when the spread is a little bit too high. I think the Giants have played well to keep the game close. I think they'll do that through maybe 2.5 quarters, but then by the middle of the third quarter, Seattle's going to pick is going to pick it up. I'm a little biased, so I hope Tyler Lockett scores a touchdown for one of my fantasy teams as well as Jackson Smith and Jigba. So hopefully both of those guys play really well. And yeah, I mean, as long as Seattle's defense can hold up and as long as Devin Witherspoon can continue to ball out at safety, Seattle should be able to easily win this game. I'm going to say they win this game comfortably. Final score 27-17.
So you have them covering?
Yep.
Okay. Nick, you want to give a Giant Seattle pick?
Yeah. I like Seattle. I don't believe in the Giants at all. Did I miss any other picks?
I'll go back to you in a second. Just do this one first.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the powers that be didn't want me picking against the Dolphins. The Dolphins knocked me off.
All right. So you have the Seahawks?
Yeah. The first
Okay.
time I've ever picked the Seahawks. I've always been critical of the Seahawks.
So you have them covering, right?
Yeah.
All right. Quickly give me Raiders Broncos pick.
Oh, what's the spread that game?
Broncos minus 3.
Broncos minus 3. Raiders.
Okay.
I'll go with the Raiders.
Okay. And then Cardinals at 49ers. 49ers minus 7.5.
Cardinals to cover. 49ers to win. Cardinals to cover.
Okay. Now that we're all caught up here. Next game. Packers at the Rams. There's a lot of injuries in this game. I had to write them down just to keep track.
No way.
So on the Packers side, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson doubtful. And obviously Cooper Kupp is still out. Obviously no Puka Nacua. So it's a battle of the wide receiver injuries. So, like I said, so Packers are -3 favorite on the road at the Rams. Who are we going to start with? Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, I think last week, obviously against Minnesota, it looked like with the Packers, that game was going to be over in the first quarter. But the Packers, showed some grit and showed some fight. And they're able to kind of storm back in the second half and make that a competitive game. I think right now with the injuries on the Rams side, they're not really a great football team right now. Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and Kyron Williams could only do so much to carry this team. Rookie pass rusher Jared Verse has definitely played well, but it's not good enough to make up for all the other injuries and, how bad talent-wise I think the Rams defense is. I know they are on the road, but the Packers do have injuries at wide receiver. They'll still have Jaden Reed. I think in his second game back, I think Jordan Love will be better. I think that's why maybe he started off slow when it gets the Vikings. So I think the Packers win, and I think they cover.
Pat.
So I will be dropping my lock of the week on the Green Bay Packers right here.
Oh.
I think the Green Bay Packers are an incredible team.
Just solid pick, Pat.
Even
Good job.
Even with 2 losses so far this year, the Packers have put up 29 or more points in all 3 games. I don't know if the Rams offense can do that without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Jordan Love was involved in the 2 games he was healthy for were both of those games. So, I mean, I trust Jordan Love. I trust this offense. Even with Watson and Doubs out, I think that just means Reed and Wicks will step up. Tucker Kraft will step up. They'll have guys step up. They have such a young and promising offense. I like the Packers here to win, to cover, and they will be my lock.
All right. Yeah, I'm on the same boat with this. Like, even though it's a battle of the injuries, I think the Packers are the better team. Like Anthony was saying, like they were bound to be smoked in the first quarter last week, and somehow they managed to come back and make that a game. Somehow, I don't know how. They should have waved the flag, but somehow they wanted to play more football and almost force overtime. But yeah, I think the Packers are better, I guess. I mean, Jordan Love has had the injuries, so we'll see if he's limited or not. And now having even more limitations with the wide receivers, will that be effective? This is going to be like one of those like Rex Ryan ground and pound tough type of games. Like, you're going to see a lot of running in this game, and I think that definitely benefits the Packers way more than it does the Rams. So I'm going to take them to cover. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers here. I'm going to be kind of running that trade, you guys. The Rams have been scoring not a lot of points so far this year. And to be fair, they've been without some of their top receivers. So I will put that into account. But Matthew Stafford's getting another year up there in age. I've been picking the Rams as of late a lot recently. I picked them against the Bears. Shame on me. So I'm not going to go on that this week. The Packers have been scoring a lot of points. And even the game that they lost last week, they found a way to somehow keep it close after they were getting blown out in the first half. One thing I like about the Packers is they cause a ton of turnovers. And I think that with another quarterback like Matt Stafford, with the not a lot of weapons they have on that overall side right now, I think that could be a big game for the Packers defense and the Packers running game. So I'm going to go with the Packers here to take the -3.
Nick D.
Yeah, the Packers I like. With Jordan Love coming back, they're probably with Jordan Love playing, they're probably a playoff team. Every time I pick the Rams or have some sort of confidence in them, they let me down, it seems like.
Thank you.
And, I mean, the Rams' new logo should be like the handicap parking sign.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
They're just so injured. They're just so badly injured. Like they're just not.
Oh man.
I find that funny personally. So,
oh man, so you're taking them to cover, right?
Yeah, the Rams are just too injured. I mean, if they're fully healthy, that might be a different story.
I was going to say in case of emergency, break glass too.
Yeah,
but
that too.
all right, Zan, finish this one up.
yeah, I like the Packers here. Yes, it is a battle of the injuries, but they just have the better overall team at the moment. Jordan Love played excellent in the second half, and you lose all those weapons on the side of the Rams, including Puka Nacua, who's arguably Matthew Stafford's favorite target alongside Cooper Kupp as well. It's most bad news for the Rams, the fans in LA. And speaking of, the whole country is going to have to suffer and watch this game because very few markets are getting Seattle and the Giants. So you might be SOL if you were tuning in to watch a really good game when you quickly realize it's a really bad game midway through the first half. So with all that being said, I like the Packers to cover, and I'm going to go bold here. I'm going to say the Packers win this one 31-13. I think they smoke them. West Coast business trip. That's what that's what I think.
All right, moving on to primetime Sunday Night Football. Cowboys at the Steelers, or as Tom would say,
them Cowboys.
So this is not. I mean, there's a lot of injuries in this one. Micah Parsons is officially out of this game. Also, I heard that. I don't know if there were any other injuries. I didn't see any currently otherwise, but that was the massive injury I saw. Zan, you go first on this one.
Yeah, obviously, as you know, the Steelers are my second favorite team, but again, because I'm a Bears fan and I experienced it, Justin Fields is Justin Fields. He had a monster game the last couple of weeks. I think he's due for a letdown game this week. I think Dak Prescott does just enough to win this game. I actually think the game goes to overtime, and I think Dallas wins 20-17.
Well, okay. Nick D.
Yeah, I like Dallas. I'm not really that sold on Pittsburgh. I'm not saying they haven't been bad. I'm not saying they've been bad. They've been good, but I'm not like sold on them either, if that makes sense. And the Cowboys are definitely a more talented team than the Steelers are. I still think the Cowboys are a pretty good team, I have to say. I still think they're pretty good. So I don't really – I mean, if I'm a Steeler fan, I wouldn't even be that mad about a loss. I mean, look, like I said, this is just 2.5-point spread. That's just a pick 'em. That's all it is.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
All right, so you have the Cowboys. Ben.
Yeah, this is I was leaning potentially towards Pittsburgh with all of the Cowboys injuries defensively, but I just don't trust the Pittsburgh offense a lot, honestly, with the way that Justin Fields is consistently. And I mean, the Cowboys, they've been playing, I mean, they were just in a primetime game last week. I know, obviously, the Giants, they were really close in this one last week with the Giants. And I think it could be a close one in this one as well. The Cowboys, I think, they obviously are losing some guys offensively, but I think that they do just enough and I mean just enough. I'm going to go with them with the upset here.
Okay, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well. If it wasn't for the injuries to Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, their top two pass rushers, it would have been my lock of the week. But because of those injuries, I can't, make it my lock. I do still like the Cowboys. I think every year there's always a team or two or a quarterback or two that kind of comes out of nowhere and surprises people. And then as the season goes on, they kind of come back down to earth. And I feel like that this year it might be Justin Fields. Obviously, he's had his moments throughout his career, but I really don't trust him at the end of the day. I think he's one-dimensional. I don't like Pittsburgh's offense one bit. And I do think the Cowboys, between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, will be able to do enough in this one. I know they're on the road. And being on the road against TJ Watt is tough. That's a tough ask. But I think the Cowboys win this game.
Pat.
I will have to agree with Ed. I think that I was going to lean Cowboys as one of my locks of the week until the injury report came up and Michael Parsons was out and they had a couple guys banged up. And I was like, all right, let me just pick the Cowboys here as the underdogs and to cover, because I do think the Steelers they're always kind of overrated, but no one actually overrates them. They just play better than everyone thinks they are. And I think it's just another case of that. Fields isn't great. The defense carries them through games. And I just think Dallas's offense has been a little bit rough so far this season. And I feel like this is a game where we could really see them have a breakout offensive game against a good Steelers defense.
Yeah, I'm leaning Cowboys. Justin Fields has actually been better than expectation, obviously, because everyone was expecting Russell Wilson to be the starting quarterback, and Russell Wilson has been bench warmer so far to begin this year. I don't think their offensive weapons are great by any means. I know they have Najee Harris, but I don't think that's anything to write home about, to be quite honest. But the Cowboys, I don't know. Everyone thinks, well, they're America's team. They should win all these games. And you're hearing all these rumors about, could the Cowboys pick up Devontae Adams in a trade? And I saw already that Stephen Jones' son is we're punting on this one. We're not even going after it, which
they couldn't even pay Derrick Henry. So how would they want to
I don't know.
Devontae Adams?
Because the Cowboys are like the Yankees. Like everyone that goes that's a big free agent or a big trade, like they're rumored to go to the Yankees. Everyone's rumored to go to the Cowboys.
Yankees, because the Yankees actually pay them.
They
throw money at players. The Cowboys don't.
Well, not always. It's been a lot different now than it once was. But I'm leaning Cowboys. I think this is going to be an ugly game, actually, to be quite honest, because you don't know what offense you're going to get. Is Dak going to come out and actually be consistent, or is he going to throw picks? He's been throwing way more picks than I'm used to him throwing too.
The circumstances of those picks.
Some of them have been pretty awful.
If you throw a pick in your own red zone, that's bad. But if you throw the ball all the way down the field and it gets picked, that could be like an early punt.
I guess, but I'm leaning Cowboys, but I'm not too thrilled about it.
I don't. Nick, if you were to pick a final score for this game, what would you guess it would be?
I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be like 2017.
So you literally agree with me. You think it's gonna be a field goal game?
Yeah, I'm not expecting much. I just don't. Dak hasn't been great. They could be playing so much better, and they don't. All right, Monday Night Football, Saints at the Chiefs. This actually is a much more interesting game than we anticipated so far early on, because the Saints have actually been playing much better football than everyone expected. Another rumored team, by the way, that Devontae Adams could go to because of the Derek Carr connection, by the way. So the Chiefs are a 5.5-point favorite at home. Chiefs have not been playing great football so far, but they managed to be 4-0, which I think is very lucky. They could have lost 2 or 3 of these games already. So, all right, let's get underway. Nick D, what do you think about this game?
Well, the Saints actually, I actually like the Saints this year. They turned it, like I think I said it before, Derek Carr seems to be having one of his good years that he has every now and then. Like every couple of years, he just turns it on. He's had a few of them in his career. But I still like the Chiefs because I can't bet against the Chiefs if it's anything less than a touchdown in a game like this. The Saints are maybe a 9 if you're really pushing it, a 10-win team. I like their offense a lot, but the Chiefs are just so much more talented and just so much better, and they're playing in Kansas City. To me, it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense to say that the Saints can cover. So, yeah, I have to go with the Chiefs. I have to. Even though I think the Saints could make it a better game than you might think.
Yeah, just because I think they've been playing way better than I think people are more surprised at how they've played so far.
I can see they're almost being I can see the game being like really close, and then at the end the Chiefs kind of take off, which happens a lot.
Or as everyone will say, "Oh, they got a lucky break from the refs again."
Yeah, maybe that would happen too. I don't know.
I agree with Nick. I could see the Saints making this a lot closer than it should be, and I could see them even potentially covering the spread. But you just have to go with the Chiefs here, and I will pick the Chiefs to cover because Patrick Mahomes. I don't believe in the Saints fully either. I know they had the hot start to the season, but they're 2-2 now. It's not like they have looked like anything too special since, and I think it's just the Saints are good, but they're not as legit as a team like Kansas City.
Anthony.
Yeah, obviously, I think the Chiefs will win. I know it's any given Sunday, but I'd be damned if I'm going to pick Derek Carr to beat Pat Mahomes in a game. I think it's going to be a no cover for the Chiefs. Actually, I think the Saints coming off of that emotional close division loss to the Falcons. Obviously, that was a game they really wanted to win. Tough division loss. They do got talent on their defense. Obviously the offense goes through Alvin Kamara. They got some talented receivers like Chris Olave. But wow, the loss of Rasheed Rice for the Chiefs is absolutely devastating. I mean, obviously he was a great rookie receiver, but this year he was really emerging as a top, 10 receiver, number one receiver option. Obviously Travis Kelce is not looking like the same Travis Kelce. It looks like he's finally starting to regress and, finally starting to age. Pacheco's out. So this really isn't a great offense, but the Chiefs, I think, can win by their defense. Chris Jones, defensive player of the year candidate right now. Trent McDuffie, one of the best corners in football. So the Chiefs have a great defense. So I think because of that, they will win. But I do think this could be a low-scoring kind of defensive matchup. So I think the Chiefs win, but no cover.
Ben.
Yeah, this game is really fascinating because, Kansas City already has their sports teams going to be absolutely an emotional wreck on Monday. They have the Royals playing the Yankees, and they have the Chiefs playing the Saints. So I think that, you're going to have an emotional game with this one too. They're going to be feeling it. The Saints and the Chiefs have both been playing really close games with both of their teams this year. The Saints just lost 26-24 to the Falcons this past week, and then they lost 15-12 the week before. The Chiefs, they just beat the Chargers barely last week, and then the Falcons game they barely won as well too. So, the Chiefs obviously have been playing a lot better, I think, as a whole defensively. I think that Patrick Mahomes, under his terms, hasn't been great. But I do think with this overall game, I have the Chiefs winning, but I think that the Saints are going to take the points because the Saints have been in a lot of close games. I think that, though, with the Chiefs, it's at Arrowhead, and it's really just hard to bet against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. So I'm going with the Chiefs, but I think the Saints are going to cover. Saints take the points. I think it's going to be that close.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way, too. We haven't brought it up yet, but Rasheed Rice, with the massive injury, is probably going to be out for the year. I think he's got a torn.
Pacheco too. Like he's a massive part offensively.
Right, but there is the very, very small possibility that Pacheco could come back. I don't know, but Rasheed Rice actually has a torn ACL. That's usually a season-ending injury.
Did they confirm that?
They said it was a torn ACL.
Oh,
yeah.
And you know who?
I thought they reported that they were waiting to see. I thought they were reporting that they were waiting to see a couple weeks if the swelling went down. To really confirm. I know they put him on.
Yeah, I have Rasheed Rice in fantasy, and I've been checking like relentlessly, and I haven't seen anything that confirms torn ACL.
Come back.
I could have sworn I saw a report.
No, I saw reports that said that it could be optimistic and that he could be back in a month and a half if things go properly.
All right, so
they don't have him now, so.
It's like he's going to be out at least 3 to 4 weeks, at least.
For
if
sure,
I had to take a guess, which I still think is a problem because he was their top receiver. So I don't know. I'm leaning on them to win just because, like everyone is saying, like at Arrowhead, you can't really bet against them at Arrowhead. They're one of the better home teams in the NFL. I think the Saints will make this a game down the stretch. But again, in typical Saints fashion, they'll blow it and Carr will throw a pick somewhere because that's what he's known for. So I think they'll win, but I don't think the Chiefs will cover either. So I'm gonna take the Chiefs, but no cover. Zan, finish off.
Yeah, I mean, even without Rashid Rice, Kansas City's the better team. They've got better weapons on both sides of the ball. Derek Carr is playing decently, but again, the Saints are the Saints. They get your hopes up one week and they lose the next. That was a game against Atlanta. They should have won. They could have never been in that position to begin with if they would have took care of the football previously in the fourth quarter when they had the ball for an extended period and had a chance to put the game away. They couldn't do it. And going to Kansas City is easier said than done. And Mahomes is a machine on national TV. There's no way I can pick against them. There's no way I can take the Chiefs to cover because I think they will. And I think they do so by a couple of scores, at least 14. Actually, we're going to go a little bit more comfortably. 38-21 KC is going to be in my final score here. They get a very comfortable win against the Saints team that, to me, I just think is very okay. So,
wow, didn't see that one coming. So that'll do it for the Week 5 edition of the Football Forecast. Make sure, again, you follow us on social media at the TFB Forecast ETB, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We post all the picks, including Sunday night and Monday night picks. You'll get those about an hour to an hour and a half before they drop, unless you're watching it on the episode here, which, by the way, thank you to everybody. The numbers are up on both our football shows, this show and Forever Power 5. The numbers have been insane on our college football show. We just started it. What is it? It feels like 5-6 weeks ago now, right? So every episode has been going up like in the couple of hundreds every week. So please watch, subscribe, follow, and you know what to do. Listen if you can't watch.
Click on
YouTube.com.
Click on
Yeah, click on it. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. YouTube.com/ETB Network for all our shows, for everyone that is involved. Please like and subscribe. As I said, we're close to 900 subscribers. We really need to get to that 1,000. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, things change. We can do more content. The algorithm will work in our favor at that point. And if you can't watch, like I said, listen to Football Forecast wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, basically any audio platform you want, it's there. So make sure you go there. And also, the Football Forecast is presented by Playback, and the network is presented by Playback as well. We will be announcing some streams coming up very shortly with the NBA preseason. So make sure you tune into that as well. We're getting our reps ready for NBA opening night for Knicks Celtics, as the Celtics will get their rings on opening night against the Knicks.
Yes,
I'm sure the Knicks are going to love that. So I think that'll do it. So for Zambando, Nick DiMartino, Pat Dana, Anthony Ballister, Ben Cruz, I'm Nick Morganson. Have a good week of football, everybody, and we will see you for Week 6 next week.
Have a